good morning, everybody. How the heck are you guys doing today? Donald, it's so good to see you. Donald, glad to hear that you are able to join and listen in as to what we got going on today. Uh, we need to, as a group, hello, but let's send our thoughts and prayers over to Kevin. Kevin is dealing with a blackout this morning. He has zero power, and so he is running on a generator to keep his food up and going. So I would be incredibly shocked if we saw Kevin pop in today. It just doesn't look like that is in the cards for him. So today we're going to be going over and talking about some of the things that were announced at Microsoft Build this week or last week. There are a bunch of big announcements. So excited to kind of delve into all of those things. Hey, Cody, good morning. Good to see you. Fernando, oh, you had a blackout yesterday? Yeah. This stuff is a bit of a challenge right now, so it's good to see everyone. It's amazing how we're having like power outages and stuff already. Aaron, good to see you too. Good to see everybody. Donald, as always, good to see you. It's exciting to hear that you're here in Kimball, Nebraska. Do they have trains that go to Kimball? If so, I don't know how you missed that. Like that's just got to be a jaunt that you're going to have to take one of these days, Donald. Jack, good to see you too. Oh, no trains. Okay. Good morning, Jack. Good morning. All right. So we're going to keep the banter light today because we got a lot of stuff that we're going to be getting into, and I am flying solo today. That's funny. Confirm or deny bunker location or pounds of jerky stored. That is right. The number of MREs that Kevin has stored is an undisclosed amount. Yeah, so that's definitely out there. All right. A few rules for the day. I think you guys are aware of these. Number one, please prefix any question with a Q so that hopefully I can see this as I'm running a solo today. Happy to delve into that, and don't spam any questions. All of that good stuff. If you're not already, please do follow Kevin and myself over on X and over on LinkedIn. That would be greatly appreciated. We'd love to see you guys there as well. But with that, we're going to head over to it. All right. The first thing that Arun started talking about is like, and I just love this quote. So this isn't an announcement, but I think this is the common struggle that we're all kind of dealing with, right? Like, like I, as a CIO, they don't want to be chief integration offers. They just want to be able to leverage the data to unleash it upon their organizations. And I think that's exactly right. But it still comes down to like, where's your data? How do you access it? How do you use it? All of that good stuff, right? That integration is a big key component of it. In the past, I think companies have fallen under the mistake where they were really focused in on just their enterprise data estates. I think more and more companies are coming to realize that the data and the information used to run their business extends far beyond what is in those enterprise data estates. So they need to find some mechanism to wrangle that data, wrangle those processes, get line of sight into what's actually happening in the business. And I think this is where Microsoft Fabric comes in in a big way. Something exciting to see when we think about using Fabric is like the growth that they're seeing continues to be exponential when it comes to like the early days of Power BI to now to the number of people that are starting to work in Fabric and do different workloads is significant. So I mean, at a certain point in time, this stuff is going to become fairly easy for us to in fact, it already is super easy for us to just enable, right? It's and I don't know if I grabbed this in a screenshot that we'll be talking about later, but it is the 5 and 5, right? 5 seconds to enable, 5 minutes to deliver, That's what the Fabric Promise is, and it's really true. You can do so much stuff within those that 5 and 5 box that it's impressive, and I think that's why we're seeing that growth, and we're going to continue to see that growth. Now, Microsoft and Microsoft is really talking about 4 different pillars they keep bringing up when it comes to like engaging with Fabric. So it's the whole platform, lake-centric and open, focus in on empowering every business user, and so not just IT, but every business user, and then making it, AI powered and available. And yeah, that's right. Generic LinkedIn user. I don't know what that. I've never seen that integration before, but yeah, 5 minutes to wow. That is spot on, right? That is some of the stuff that you could do inside of Fabric, and we're going to delve into some of the bigger things that they had. Now, this next slide that they showed, I think, really, while it encapsulates like what Fabric is and what Fabric does, right? So Fabric is all of these things in place, like data factory, data engineering, data warehouse, data science, real time, Power BI, with AI, with this AI sliver running on one lake, governed by Purview. I think that this is almost too little. Wait, right here. The AI component there is being underplayed in this slide and in this conversation. And let me explain why this is a radical shift that we should really be aware of when it comes to our ability to see changes and features and functionalities roll out into Fabric. We're talking about AI driving the build of Fabric and the engineering that's being done within Microsoft, right? So what does that mean? If AI is assisting in building out all these components, what does that mean we're actually seeing inside of Fabric? And in conversations with a number of the engineers I have to be nameless, and we can't, like, Microsoft hasn't published studies on this and stuff like that, but they're using Copilot and to generate the code that is building out the Microsoft platform. That's great. What does that mean? What types of efficiencies are they seeing? Well, Microsoft, the engineering team leads I was talking to, the principal engineers, they were saying that they really knew what it took for what they could deliver in a 3-month period, and because they've been developing for decades, right? And so they blocked out a 3-month period of work to execute on that, and then they decided that they were going to use Copilot to help them do all of the development. They weren't going to do any of the classical development of writing code and testing code themselves. They're going to do all of the development themselves. And what they found was those 3 months of work, they were able to deliver all of that in 2 weeks. And in 2 weeks, the code was better and more sturdy because the AI was able to generate all of the integration scripts and all of the regression testing scripts that will just go into and be part of their DevOps pipelines. So any future releases or changes aren't going to impact the features that were rolled out. Now, you may think that's no big deal, but if you think about like all of the potential regression scripts that you could have, nobody gets a chance to write all of the regression scripts, right? You write a handful of them, making sure that those features are in place. They said that because it was AI generated, the AI generation was able to test all of the use cases, business cases, and able to just generate that code. Well, okay, Chris, translate that into what does that mean when we think about the growth of Fabric? So when we go back to this slide and we show this phenomenal growth rate, it means that the rate of Fabric's development is not just like the normal rate that we see within Power BI, and we saw them doing, and they continue to do weekly releases and stuff like that. But we could be seeing up to a 12x increase in the rate and the quality of performance of what's going into Microsoft Fabric. That means feature wise, quality wise, every single month, we could be seeing a year's worth of development being delivered if it's a truly a 12x, right? That means that the Microsoft Fabric product is so much more mature than our classical development process would be because they're powering it through AI. Because they're the ones that are like the first company out doing that, like Fabric is going to be growing faster, stronger, and better than all of the competition, really. And to me, that is super exciting to think about the features that are coming, to think about what's being delivered, to think about those capabilities, because like it moves really fast as it is, and to like just have those components, just quote unquote be there. Um, when we look at this slide across all these capabilities, that is really transformative. Now, the other big thing that they're doing with Microsoft Fabric here, and this is where I mentioned the 5x5, right? 5 seconds to enable, 5 minutes to wow, as our friendly LinkedIn user said here. But like everything is success by default, like automatically optimized, minimal knobs to like auto generate everything on the front end, but with some knobs for the pro code developers, right? So if you want to be low code in areas, it just works, right? You can just get in and do what you need to do. Everything is already integrated. Everything is running in common frameworks and on common data stores, or will be. I'm looking at you, KQL, or the Custo databases. But all the stuff is there, as well as it being centrally administered. It's fantastic. Now, they talked about the new task flows. We did a great video on that 2 weeks ago. Do check that one out. It's quite good. The other big thing is they announced the concept of workloads. And this is something that I'm kind of excited about because this is unifying like the Microsoft Store into the Fabric space. So if you work on or build out any custom solutions that integrate in, like for example, we'll say Informatica here, right? Or where's Informatica? Right. Oh, well, whatever. You can see Informatica there, right? Like it's just built into the solution, right? You can enable it through the solution. You could just start to leverage it through those workloads that we've just started. That little tab that we saw that has appeared on workloads that we could start to pull in. This means this means that we can like start to do so much more capabilities that can be expanded upon community growth and different vendors that are out there. And then we could just take advantage of those, right? And honestly, this workloads capability is something that like I don't know if you've ever worked with a metadata framework. It seems like some people I talk to and they're like, of course we work with metadata frameworks, and other people are like, what the heck are you even talking about? But basically, it runs your end-to-end data pipelines, loads, transformations, your output, and you just do it through configurations, and you just like enter the table name in a file, and it builds out and it runs it through. It makes it really easy to manage a very large data estate with very, very minimal capabilities. Donald's mentioning that he just loves task flows so far. Yeah, I am a huge fan. Do check out. I'm working on a series of like end-to-end videos. I'm going to be using task flows to show, to highlight any one given piece of that video or solution that we're going to be doing. We're focused. Those videos are going to focus in on. They're going to focus in on the most simple use and design builds. So like if you're just trying to be like down and dirty and get it in and get it done, I'll show you how to do that stuff. Try to not make it more complex than it needs to be. Just because there's lots of stuff out there that I've already published on like the enterprise path, but like there should be quicker, easier paths for people to do as well. And yeah, Donald's kind of right here. Sounds like Microsoft competing with Databricks Marketplace, yep, or Snowflake's Marketplace, or there's a couple others that are out there as well. Um, let's see here. And from there, they did announce the workload development kit. This is available right now. I had fully intended to get a link for that together for you guys, but with Kevin suddenly not being available, I'll admit I forgot to go and get it. But it's just aka.ms/fabdevkit. You can go ahead and you can go out there, check that out. It is really good. For a first for a first swag at it, I mean, frankly, it's going to be great. I would imagine, because like inside there's oh my gosh, it's I'm forgetting the name of it. What's the design software that everyone's like? Figma. There's like Figma resources in there, so you can see what the designs are and the standards that they've created, and makes it really easy to develop and operate within the framework that they have. So do check that out. Apologies, Lumel. I guess I was blocking you. So hey, here's everybody. Yeah, Donald. Well, I'm glad you like the Taskful video so far. Do come back. I'll admit, like the actual like build out one, I started and recorded, and like I hit a few snags, but it's only because, well, frankly, I was having an issue because I forgot a certain piece. But we'll get those out. And we'll start publishing those on a regular basis. So, all right. Now we're going to start to get into like some of the actual announcements that are coming out, right? Like the unifying data into one, like with Data Factory. That ability to have that 170 plus data sources that you could just have it there is incredibly useful for when you're doing that ingestion. But this is where it gets exciting. When we're talking about minimizing or not copying data around, that's where we start to get into this unified shortcuts experience, right? So wherever that data is, be it Azure Data Storage, Amazon S3, or Google Storage, or Dataverse, or wherever it is, it stays there, but it becomes visible inside of Fabric. So it's just no fuss, no muss. You just make that all together, and it just brings that in and makes it accessible. All right. Now, the big announcement that we have here is they do have a public preview now that's working for the on-premise sources, where you could just shortcut those in as well. So this is a exciting new feature that we have. So we could just, if you're running with a whole bunch of on-prem sources, you could just make that universally available inside of Fabric and to make that accessible. Hey, Tenacious Data, good to see you. Greg, good to see you as well. Nice to see you both. Oh, look at this. Greg even knows Tenacious Data. But where was I going? Okay, so regardless, what this means is that makes it easy for those shortcuts, make it easy for it to be in there without the copy function. There is a way to if we're not talking about file storage. So shortcuts work for file storage, right? So if you're talking about S3 blob files, or you're talking about hang on, we'll get to that in a second. If you're talking about like actual files that you might want to consume, that's where shortcuts come into play. If you're talking about like database management systems like Cosmos DB, MySQL, SQL, even things like the Databricks, what is it, the warehouse? There's a component with a compute engine that's integrated there. Or you're talking about like Amazon functions or Google Cloud capacities, then you can actually start to actually mirror that data in, and you get like a CDC, a change data capture feeds of the database. Okay. Now that is a big deal because not every database allows for change data capture, right? Like that functionality, that ability to keep those replications in place, is very dependent upon that source system having CDC capabilities. OneLake has built in some native functionality where it's no longer dependent upon the source in be able to have like a CDC pub sub framework in place in order to make that available. Now you can just leverage OneLake to make that mirroring functionality occur. So that's really exciting. And let me just pop over there to the screen because over there it's mentioning, well, I can't get it. Data is stored in Delta Parquet tables. So like that mirroring function gets the data into a format that's native to the Microsoft Fabric space, right? So shortcuts leaves data as is. Mirroring has that conversion in it, so there is a bit of compute that goes on inside there. But there's that's what one of the bigger differences is. So, boy, Greg, you're bouncing around. Good to see you over on LinkedIn too. Now, this technically wasn't announced at Build, but people keep asking me about it, and honestly, I kind of keep forgetting about it. Oh, hey, good morning, Dan. Good to see you, man. Um, if you're mirroring data, there is no storage cost for these replicas. Okay, so one of the big things for like a lot of Fabric people who came from Power BI going into Fabric, it's like, oh no, now we have to pay for storage, and I mean, kind of like that is just the deal when you're getting into like data engineering and cloud storage. It's very inexpensive. Like, someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's 26 cents a gigabyte a month or something like that. So I mean, we're not talking big dollars. In fact, we're talking just pennies. And the reality is, if anyone is being like paid to work on this stuff, like that shouldn't be like a break the bank type functionality. Okay. So that's a great capability. Just remember, it's free. So if you set this up, you're not going to have to worry about storage. You might have to worry about the compute in those cases. So a call out on mirroring is the mirroring does something to there is a workload that occurs on that underlying source. Now, in most cases, that workload is very light, but it really depends on how much you set up in the mirror and like how this actually happens, right? Yeah, storage costs and egress charges. Ah! Yeah, everyone panic. It's the end of the world is coming. Yeah. But just be aware that there is some compute that runs on that base system. Now it's highly optimized, right? So like, but what OneLake and Fabric is going to do is it's going to be going out there and checking on a very, very like every 15-second basis to see if there's any changes that have happened. And the queries are very lightweight. It's a very low level and should be a very quick in and out type of a function that goes on. But just know that that's going on. So like if you're all of a sudden you turn that on and you see like, oh my gosh, we've got all of these queries that hit our database. Yeah, I mean, the reality is that's what databases are for, is to execute queries. So like that shouldn't be a surprise that that's going on and how that happens. But it is very lightweight. And in fact, at one point it wasn't lightweight, and so they held off deployment until it was lightweight. So it's not all that bad in getting it up and running, but that's how that works. Okay. Now they did announce some better together integrations with Fabric, or I'm sorry, Fabric and Databricks in that Unity catalog. Oh crap. Is Unity Catalog available for browsing today, or is that coming soon? Does anyone know? I'm suddenly forgetting. It'll be like, presume it's gonna be, if it's not there today, it's coming very, very soon. That ability to see and access data through Unity Catalog is going to become directly available. So you're just going to be able to use the data that's in Databricks. So for your enterprise teams that are using Databricks, great. Continue to use Databricks. No problem. That works great with Fabric. So if you have analyst teams that want to do more analytics on top of your data, and in fact, one of my favorite updates was like the absolute end of the demo that they gave and the keynote that they gave. So we're going to get into that. But if you need to use and other data and you want to leverage that data that's in Databricks with Fabric stuff, you can do it all in one place and leveraging it without any real issues. Now, the big one that they announced, and this is something that like everyone got all excited about, was okay, so OneLake is built with Delta Lake format. Yep, okay, that's been a foundational thing. But now there's this huge push or a huge announcement where Iceberg format is going to be natively supported inside of OneLake as well. So it's the Delta Lake format was what was there already, but now Iceberg format is going to be available. What the heck does that mean? I mean, that's exciting for people who know what Iceberg is, but let's give two big examples as to where this has an impact. First, we're talking about like Fabric and Salesforce. Salesforce stores their data inside of Iceberg format files. That means you can choose OneLake as where your Salesforce data files are being stored. And that allows for bi-directional access to be set up between Fabric and Salesforce. So if you need to be reading and performing analytics on the activities that are going on inside of Salesforce, you can do that directly on top of the Iceberg files that are available inside of Salesforce. Right? So you can set up your trickle feeds, your RTAs, or your RPAs, whatever you want, can run against those Iceberg files without you having to do any additional transformations. You may want to, but you don't have to in order to get that data and make that available. That just makes it seamlessly accessible for like everyone in your organization, for M365, for just everybody. This is a huge advancement. Where does that come from, and what is the big announcement that this also means to Iceberg files is Microsoft is radically shifting forward and expanding their partnership with Snowflake. So with that, Iceberg support means native bidirectional access to anything and everything inside of Snowflake, and Snowflake truly becomes like a first-class partner inside of Fabric. And they actually have a really cool little demo that they did, and I'll try to post the shortcut to where you could go check out this demo. But like having Fabric and Snowflake together in OneLake just makes everything so much better. But now they showed how you could take a new database, and when you put in that new database, when you create it, you can choose where the data in that database is going to be stored. So you can choose, before it was Amazon S3, Microsoft Azure, or Google Cloud. Now Microsoft Fabric, native Microsoft Fabric, without having to do anything else, is an option, and it'll store it inside of OneLake. So Azure's there, so it's stored in an old Azure account, but like you do it inside of Fabric and just make it natively there. What would that mean if we create this, choose Fabric, and hit create? Something super cool, like you have to like choose your workspace and everything, but then right inside of the workspace itself, you see that Snowflake database, right? Snowflake database becomes something that you can work with and play with inside of Fabric itself. So just like how you would have a data warehouse in there, there's you see Snowflake, and what comes with Snowflake? What is this guy right here? That is an automatic semantic model in direct click mode that sits on top of the Snowflake. I believe it's directly. That forget about it, right? Gone. This means we're going to soon get to the point where we have to eliminate, or we don't have to, or we can eliminate any of our pipelines that we've set up moving data from Snowflake into Fabric. It'll just be in Fabric if we choose Fabric as that destination, right? Dan has a great question. Does this mean no more on-prem gateway for Snowflake? Let's talk about that. Maybe. So, right now this integration is between Snowflake and Azure, where you allow for a cloud-to-cloud integration between those two services. That's secure. That's over SF or SHTPT pathways, but it's not secure enough for some organizations who have defined like that they insist upon a VPN and like a security and encrypted tunnel between those, and for those organizations that are using an on-prem data gateway to go from Snowflake into Power BI. For that, you'll still need as far as I know, you're still going to need the gateway for now. Now, this does speak to a day when that's either not going to be necessary, or, and maybe this is the case because I haven't touched this myself yet, it could be possible that data could be loaded and stored through the gateway. I'm not 100% sure, but like if your Snowflake's in AWS, and well, actually, how'd this work? No, you'd have to define, if you define it in Fabric, you're just gonna be storing and running inside the Fabric account with the Snowflake that you're managing wherever you're managing it. So I guess we'd have to really check and look into that. I don't think it will necessarily get rid of the. It's a good question. I'm not 100% sure. I'd want to do more research on this one, Dan. It's a great question. We'll have to look. Yeah, we'll have to look. I would love to say I know, but clearly I don't. So, all right. I love this pattern where, like other vendors, and like this is what you're going to see with like Databricks too, right? Like Databricks stuff is going to be available inside of here, and that's kind of where they went on and started to announce other services, and other companies are going to have like first class products in there. Big one is Adobe. Now they said in the demo or the keynote that it was going to be a warehouse. Adobe's going to go directly into a warehouse. I thought it was going directly into a lake house, so we got to test this one out and see what's going on there. But like, this is the type of thing we're going to start to see more and more and more of, is that it's just going to be directly integrated. Our solutions are just going to be there, right? Where it's just suddenly you've got Snowflake, suddenly you've got all of your Adobe resources, right? So this is a huge step forward. Let's see here. Yep, hang on. Cody has a question here. Cody's asking, does anyone have any resources outlining Unity Catalog and how it benefits users from a consuming data perspective? Catalogs of prod, test, dev doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So I guess I would turn up to the community if you have anything like that. The note I would give is this is all around data governance, right? And that's what Unity Catalog brings in, is that ability to see where your data is and your data estates. Production being the most important one that you're looking at, but like understanding what's next, what's coming up, could be incredibly beneficial for, let's say, especially like a lot of business users who are like working on data projects with engineering, and they want to see and test out the quality of the data, but they're not a data engineer, so going in and writing SQL's not something that they want to do. They would much rather look into something like a Unity Catalog or a Purview and see what it looked like, the quality, all that good stuff at that lower layers. So that's kind of the use case that we would have in that situation, Cody. All right. Now this is a big one because I think this has been something that people have skirted for a long time because we didn't have a great answer for this. And this is developer friendly API for GraphQL to everything in Dalek. What this means is it becomes much easier for us to allow our app dev people to access the data that we're using inside of OneLake and inside of our data estates and business intelligence and everything that we have. And why that's been a challenge in the past is the backends that we've had in place for analytics were not the same backends that you'd have in place for transactional processing. So like OLTP versus OLAP, right? Transactional processing versus analytical processing. Because the data inside of OneLake is natively stored in Delta files, it becomes much easier to point those queries back to those Delta files. And so that it's the app that's engine that's coming in and bringing its compute and its query against it, and then hitting that back end resource to bring out those files, right? So that means any apps that you have are able to leverage that API API GraphQL in order to access the data that you have in OneLake, right? So now if you have a whole bunch of apps and you want to provide like data insights for your customers, right? And customers at scale can can be a real challenge, right? Like it's one thing in a data solution to have a few hundred people hitting your backends and querying things on a any given moment. And like everyone comes in at 8 o'clock and pulls up your reports. Okay, you manage for that. That's very different than managing for all of your customers. Have the ability to query and access that backend, and you have no idea what they're going to do or the performance on it, and that's a very different thing. So like small companies haven't cared as much because if you only have a few thousand customers, no big deal. At any given point, maybe there's one or two, right? But if you're talking about truly like cloud scale customers where you might be going like B2C, where you're talking about going to the consumers, where you might have like millions of customers buying your your sports bottle thing, right? Like that's been a real struggle where you had to like not allow them to access it. Because of OneLake, because of that open source format and GraphQL, it makes it super easy to make these accessible inside of Fabric and OneLake, right? And they even gave a demo where they showed using a GraphQL endpoint to like actually like build out this report inside of an app. This is not Power BI. You're not looking at Power BI here. You're looking at an application that's using those GraphQL APIs to hit OneLake to bring this data forward. And it's the same data that you had in place before, just now it's being brought out and exposed to your customers at scale. So I thought this was super exciting. It takes on a number of issues or challenges that we didn't have before, or we didn't have a good solution to that. So excited about that one. Now, this is nothing new, but I like this graphic. This is new, and I think this is really how this is a great example of how, in my mind, how data is consumed with business intelligence at that like center point between. That's one ugly pie chart. I've always thought business intelligence was standing in that gap between the armies of business users on one side and IT and technology on the other side, and business intelligence stood there handling and providing that access point between them. And so I really kind of like this graph in this image because to me this is exactly right. We've got all of the consumption points for Power BI and the semantic models that Power BI has represented here. and the back end is being powered by all of these different workloads that bring forward the data that's inside One Lake and make that accessible in Power BI. I like this image a lot. There's nothing new announced here, but I like that. Now, the big thing that they had, and I'm actually going to try to play a video. We'll see how this goes. Is the announcement of real-time analytics. So give me a second. I'm going to switch over, and I am going to attempt to play this video for you. So you let me know if you hear this sound go.
AI is transforming the world, and data is the fuel of AI. Microsoft Fabric helps you activate your data for AI innovation by bringing all your data and analytics into a single SaaS experience. With Fabric, you can connect data from anywhere and establish a trusted data foundation for your analytics. Unify your analytics on a single platform with tools tailored for every data professional. Empower every user with insights in the apps they use every day. And use Copilot to accelerate productivity and help everyone get more from their data. And now, Fabric is becoming even more powerful. The new real-time intelligence workload revolutionizes how you ingest, transform, query, and act on high-volume, high-granularity data. At its heart lies the Real-Time Hub, a central point for managing events from diverse sources, helping drive better decisions in real time. Developers can use the new Microsoft Fabric Workload Development Kit to design and build Fabric work.
All right, we already covered that, so I don't have to go any more in that. Does it sound okay in that? For me, it was echoing, so I hope it wasn't echoing for you. My pre-stream test showed it wasn't echoing, but sound is a forever mystery in this world. But the whole idea, though, is that like the real-time hub has got this great new data hub that is associated with it. That you can now leverage any of your streams that you had out there. Oh, good. Cody is saying it sounded good for him. Good. All right. Yeah. Good. Maybe not perfect, but hopefully it wasn't awful. But yeah, anything that you have when it comes to like real-time streaming or CI/CD or CDC, change data capture, can now manifest itself and present it through the real-time hub. So regardless of the service that you're using, you can go ahead and integrate this in with your solutions, right? And there's even like a common task flow that you could go in and like define, okay, what are the streams you're going to pick up? Where are you going to store that stream? And where you're going to have near real-time data that's on it. They kind of like did a demo showing you all the different sources that were out there, right? The Azure Event Hubs, IoT Hub, Kafka, or Fabric Workspace events, but like truly it's everything, right? Like Amazon Kinesis, where's it? Google Cloud Pub Sub, I mean, kind of you name it, like Azure SQL DB, CDC, whatever the source is, if it has a real-time streaming component, you can just easily build that in, lay out your data pipe and like how that data is going to flow through your environment. They showed how easy it was to like actually create triggers off of it and like take action from this information that's flowing in. So I mean, because Fabric is so like user friendly, if you have these things like in a catalog, these live streams available, like going out and saying like, hey, I want to like flow this through, or I want to take advantage of something, is going to become something that becomes a reality for business users to be able to set up, right? Like, hey, I'm a manager and I'm a manager at a grocery store, and we've got sensors on all of our refrigerators, and we need to know when it dips below a certain point on any one refrigerator, because when that occurs, we send out a service person to go fix that thing, right? That's literally something that you can do. And if you already have that stream out there, hey, you can go set up an alert or a Teams notification on that is now a drag and drop activity. So you can like test it out and like say, yeah, you know what? notify me via Teams every time it drops below, I don't know, let's say every time it rises above, because drops below would be bad. You know, like we want it to be cool. Like every time it rises above, let's say 44 degrees. I don't know. Like maybe that's a never occurrence because 44 is way too warm for storing refrigerated food or something. You know, but so then you pair it back to 38. Well, 38 is too cold because now you're getting updates every 5 minutes. Because you're a business user, though, like, and because it's so user friendly, you can just tweak and play with those numbers until it gets to what you want it to be. And so I'm pretty stoked about those real time intelligence or real time integrations and real time intelligence that we're actually going to be able to deliver. They also announced the general availability of Copilot and Fabric. I think this is a little bit of a misnomer because there's so many Copilots in Fabric. It's like, which of them? If you go into and like watch the demo, they're really talking about like the ability to generate reports off of that. That's where you're doing. So it's going to be the generated reports, the AI driven insights, and custom generative AI for your data. So I think this is the big one that people have been looking at. And these are just jump starts, right? A lot of these times are like just getting you up and running. It's not like the be all end all. Okay. Let's see. Let's keep going here. Now, a big one that they have is that they're announcing in public preview, and this is where this is honestly where I'm starting to get into excited because this is a big announcement. What this allows for us to do, and I think if we take a minute to see how this works, I think you're going to be excited as I am. This is generative AI on your data, so you can deliver custom AI experiences to ask questions about your data, for people to be able to ask those questions about it. And so a big shout out to Nelly. Nelly has been pioneering and leading this space. So if you know Nelly, ping her. And because I'm bad at names, I'm suddenly forgetting Nelly's last name, but it starts with a G, I think. But Nelly has done an amazing job inside of here with this, because what it allows you to do is create this new thing called an AI skill that allows you to like create a back-end data resource for that generative AI, right? So what does that mean? Why? Like, okay, so like, we've got all of our data inside of our data hub. We've got our semantic models. Can't they just use that? Well, they can, but often, especially when we look at what people are asking questions of the data, a lot of these capabilities are driven by operational activities, right? And many of those operational activities are using base information that may or may not be at that gold layer inside of your lakehouse, right? So it might be in your semantic model, or it might be further back inside your operational database, right? And this is where this skill comes into play, where you're now able to like mix together a query you're able to define a query that runs potentially across all of the layers of your environment to provide those answers out to business users. So you can write a query like what we're looking at here, like how many calls have we from loyalty members and source they joined from, right? You can actually write what that query would be like. And you can put in all sorts of different things to help drive this. Like as soon as this becomes public preview and we can show it to you, and like I'm 100% doing a fuller demo on this. But it allows you to come up with these different queries that you can start to put together to answer these different questions that people are asking. You then publish the skill out, where that skill URL can then be used in the creation of that narrative, right? So inside of Copilot Studio, where you can actually like generate like that conversational back and forth to the data that's in OneLake. This is where you can start to where you use that that AI skill to make that available. And like definitely go and check out like how they have this set up. It is super cool. I'll look for more on that in just a bit. But and then the last thing that we're going to talk on is, or I was just going to mention, is just a big fan of like what they're talking about inside of Fabric and these announcements. Um, the switch from not having that AI layer with just the one like in purview underneath it to having AI across the entire environment, I think is the right way to think about like how we're interacting and working with data. But it doesn't change the need to have a good data estate in place. And so something I've been saying for a lot of people and a lot of leaders in your organization, if you have not made significant investments in governing and managing your data estates, you're not going to be able to get the real value out of AI until you do. And it's very akin to someone who's 55, 60, 65 years old saying, hey, crap, I need to retire soon. I should start investing. Well, if you're 55, 60, 65 and saying, I should start investing for retirement, you have a long way to go to start investing for retirement, because it's something that takes years and years and years to get done. But what that means though is it doesn't mean you shouldn't stop or shouldn't try. It's that if you need to start making these investments in data and data governance, now is the time to start making those investments. Now is the time to start talking with your leaders about the importance of making sure that data is broadly governed across your organization. Now is the time to start laying out those roadmaps and plans to make sure that you've got good, solid domains, good, solid access rules, good, solid cloud security and permissions in place. Kicking the can down the road means you're going to be kicking the can down the road on AI, or potentially like kicking the can down the road on like being able to like just even survive, right? Like organizations are making significant investments in this now. This is a moment where leaders are able to go and talk to their boards about making these investments. We're seeing that even though like economies are struggling in some areas, the companies are choosing to make these investments now because they're realizing they don't start now, they're not going to be in the place they need to be 5 or 10 years from now, and they're going to find themselves blown away by the advances that other teams have, or other companies have had, or their competition has had. So, this is a great, a great time to get started. In other words, and look at that, and Kevin is back online. His power just came back on. Congratulations, Kevin. Fire up that AC. Get your power company all sad that they got you back up and running right away. Actually, that'd be an interesting graph. I would love to see what is the spike in graph or spike in electrical utilization when power comes back on in a neighborhood, right? Like, does it go right to like what it normally was, or do people like spike up in usage? So that'd be interesting. All right. Well, I think that's all kind of I had set up for today. So we're not going to drag this out any longer than it needs to be, other than to say I hope you're having the best day you possibly could. If you ever need help though, or if you ever find yourself struggling, please reach out to someone. This is a great community. We're happy to help you on professional levels, but we're also happy to help you on personal levels. So if you find life is too much, or you're finding that you're just struggling with things in this world, please reach out. There's almost everyone I see in fact, everyone I see in chat are good people. If we have time and availability, we'll be happy to talk with you and help coach you through whatever struggles are going on in your life, because frankly, life is hard. None of us get out of it alive. And if you're going through something, be there to or reach a hand out. We're happy to do what we can to help you out, to help you through whatever struggles you're going through. And Conversely, if you find yourself happen to be running through sunshine fields and with the wind at your back and the sun on your face and everything's all good, be mindful that there's someone who might be running right next to you who's actually really struggling, and from their perspective, life is not as good. So be mindful, reach out to people, help them out when they need help, because that's what I know this community is great at. You guys have a great weekend. We'll talk to you next week. Peace. Wait, that's not the button. See you later. Digital combines strategic industry insight and advanced technical expertise to uncover and solve your digital transformation challenges. If you're interested in learning more, check out our website at bakertilly.com/digital.